Cloudcast Media.
Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, amplifying the voices of social impact organizations, entrepreneurs, local nonprofits, and other community champions who shape the culture, creativity, and connectivity of San Diego. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing good things to San Diego for over 60 years. Learn more about what is good for you and good for all by visiting www.missionfed.com.
I'm Drew Schlosberg with Cloudcast Media. You're going to be listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show. We are the nation's longest running community podcast in our 20th year, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, 60 plus years of doing amazing things in our region, whether we're talking about Alzheimer's or the homeless or food insecurity, financial literacy. They are on the top of their game with all these key causes in the area. We are so thrilled to have in the studio two iconic San Diego groups, United Way of San Diego County and 211 San Diego, President and CEO of United Way of San Diego County, Rachael Orose. Always a great day when you're in the studio, my friend.
Hi, Drew. How you doing?
I'm doing great. And Meg Storer, Chief of Staff, San Diego, 211 San Diego. You've been there how long now?
23 years.
Just seems like 23 minutes ago, does it not?
Yeah, I know.
Exactly. So anybody who's spent any time working with 211 San Diego knows of the great work they do. Honored to have. Joining me is my business partner and the CEO and the founder of Cloudcast Media, Charles Parisi. Charles, what do you think about this august group of guests we have?
I think it's going to be a fantastic episode. I'm going to say right out of the gate, Drew, I'm sitting across from Rachael. Meg, I've never met you before. It's a pleasure to meet you. But
too.
Rachael, I'm going to say this for the whole community here. United Way San Diego, inspired choice to bring you in as the CEO. You are one of the most well-liked individuals in San Diego.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah, there's no question about that. I've known, Rachael, should I date myself on this, through the San Diego Council on Literacy, which of course is near and dear to Charles's heart, and Words Alive, and you just did an amazing job here. What a great transition to this. I'll start with you on this just for our audience that does not know the mission of United Way San Diego County. If you can give a little bit of a nickel tour on that.
Yeah, absolutely. So United Way in San Diego County has been around for over 100 years. We've always done the same thing, which is really tackle the most complicated issues facing San Diegans. That looks different every year, and it looks different in different iterations of how San Diego is showing up. And so we are right now looking at, what are the biggest needs facing San Diegans, which is what we love working with 211 on, because they're able to partner with us really closely, thinking about what are our needs, how can we address them, how do we rally our community together to really move the needle for our families.
Absolutely. Meg, mission of 211 San Diego.
Sure. So, 211 San Diego was established in 2003, actually. And our goal really is to provide connections to community health, social, and disaster resources. And at 211, we hear the human side of, the statistics that Rachael and United Way are looking at every day. People call us because they're trying to keep food on the table, stay housed, access health, or simply understand what resources are available to them. So 211 San Diego really provides that 24/7 access for navigational care.
And of course, something near and dear to my heart, as Charles Wells know, I got a degree in journalism, worked on the sports writing side, then I went to the dark side and ran community and public relations for the UT. But it's all about communication, and it's about communication when people need it then. And that is the DNA, obviously, of 211 San Diego. It's not like, well, we'll get you that information in about 2 weeks. No, I need it at 9:54 p.m. Talk about how you guys do that.
Right. So we're real time. We have about 300 staff members. And like I mentioned, we're 24/7. And we offer services in more than 200 different languages. And we have access to a verified, credible database of 6,000 different services and programs. What I will say with that is that our staff members are real San Diegans helping San Diegans. So at our core, we have people first in our minds, and it's very important for us in our mission to make sure that the voices of the people in our communities that we also live in are being served. Those neighbors, our family members, the organizations that staff individuals or corporations. We are here for everybody, whether it's someone that's looking for care for their parents or for their children, or they're on the streets looking for somewhere to live.
That's incredible. How many service calls a year do you get from the community?
We serve about 1.5 million people a year through connections.
That's incredible. That's about 50% of the community.
Yes. Yeah.
San Diego County.
Right. So, and those can vary. I mean, we can be, quite transparent that the highest need right now is around, housing assistance. But really that goes back to the data that we're all seeing is that it's difficult to live in San Diego right now and to our region. And there's an interesting level of our community that is struggling to meet needs right now.
Yeah, there's no question about that. And, it leads into something that I know when Rachael came on, sort of hit, they call it the iceberg theory. You only see the 10% that's above the surface. There's 90% that's down. Talk about affordability. I'll start with you on that, Rachael, then move over to Meg.
San Diego is one of the most amazing places to live in the country. It's also one of the most expensive. And our families are struggling. There's a study that's put out every 2 years by United Ways of California. It's called the Real Cost Measure, and it's telling us that for a family of 4 here in San Diego County, it costs just over $116,000 to just make ends meet. So we're talking food, housing, transportation, childcare. We're not talking a crisis or an emergency or a car breaking down or a health bill. $116,000. I can't do math this fast, but it pretty much comes up to about 3 full-time minimum wage jobs. Mm-hmm. That is telling us that it's really, really expensive to live here, and our families are struggling. And whatever we can do as a community to think about how can we make things just a little bit easier? What are those practical resources and tools that we have here that we can get to our families immediately and long term? And I think that's what's really neat about our partnership with 211 is they're addressing the immediate response right now. What does a family need? And United Way is building the ecosystem of resources to really build that financial security for those families and help them with resources and tools so that they can build their self-reliance and they can have the things that they need to thrive. And so one of the things that I love, and Drew, you and I have talked about this before, is the data that centers all of this.
Data-driven. Mm-hmm.
And 211, United Way, both very data-driven, and we want to make sure our county is phenomenal and great, and the need of our families keeps going up. Mm-hmm. What they need keeps going up, and the resources and the philanthropic investments aren't keeping track with what that looks like. And so the question becomes, how do we prioritize? Where can we look? How do we invest? How do we help tell the case? And I think that's when you think about really neat community collaborations, 211 and United Way, we're creating that ecosystem. We're rooted in data, and most importantly, and Meg, correct me if I'm wrong, but most importantly, our families and our neighbors are at the center of that story, no matter what we do.
100%.
Yeah. So talk about that. Meg, you've been there for a while, and seen, obviously the calls jump up, 1.5 million. You said getting this year dealing with those different types of things, and every one of those is important in its own way in this aspect of it. So as Rachael was talking about, is it a financial resource issue? Is it a volunteer resource issue? It is something else a resource issue? How do we get to that point?
Yeah, thanks, Drew. I will say that here in at 211 San Diego, we are literally 1 degree separation from a person, from a family, from a child, from your neighbors and your family members. One of the most important lessons that we've learned together through 211 in the United Way is that these are financial hardships that people across many demographics are dealing with. We got working parents, we got caregivers, we got seniors, we got people with jobs that are feeling the strain. And really, like what Rachael was saying, and just to reiterate, some of these individuals are literally one unexpected crisis away from failing and not being able to get out of that hole. So I can tell you that over the past year and a half, the recent changes to our federal benefit programs add a massive layer of complexity, right? This is when eligibility rules become more complicated and the experts understand, but it's not being passed down to the grassroots level of where individuals and families can comprehend what's happening. because they're too complex. So families often need additional help when understanding requirements and, maintaining access to critical services like your CalFresh, like your Medi-Cal, like your CalEITC. So when benefits are reduced or interrupted, the need does not disappear. In fact, it becomes more. And simply shifts on to food banks, to our schools, our nonprofit organizations, and other community-based providers that are already operating under significant strain, because we're all trying to work together to bridge this gap. And, one of our unique roles in our partnership with United Way and why it's so powerful is because we're offering this unique but complementary perspective to help identify these long-term trends and solutions while just forging ahead. We understand that we are at the precipice in a unique juncture in how our community provides services. And I don't mean community just nonprofits, but I'm looking at our government sector. I'm looking at our corporate sector. I'm looking at our CBOs. I'm looking for the volunteer organizations and the grassroots organizations and our philanthropy. This is a time where a whole community approach is not just an idea, but is absolutely imperative.
Well, there's no question. When we come back from break, I want to hit that. I want to talk about HR, one as well.
Yes.
You're sort of, jumping on that a little bit. And as Rachel knows, Meg, we always save time in the second half of the interview. What can our listeners do to support
Sure.
what you folks are doing when we return with Meg Storer? She is the Chief of Staff for 211 San Diego, joined by her colleague Rachael Orose, President and CEO of United Way of San Diego County. I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media, listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg's Spotlight on the Community Show, nation's longest-running community podcast in our 20th year, brought to you by amazing folks at Mission Fed Credit Union. We'll be right back after this very short break.
When you do your banking with Mission Fed, you get great rates on auto and home loans. That's good for you, but something good also happens for a lot of other people. We're not for profit, so we put money back into the community to help lots of great nonprofits to keep San Diego strong. So you're not just getting something good, you're doing something good. Come to Mission Fed. It's banking that's good for all.
Brand amplification is the DNA of Cloudcast Media, and our code is the powerful blending of sound, voice, and storytelling to lift local brands and their communities. Whether it is our Brandcast, Schoolcast, or Causecast platforms, the unifying ethos is all about this community, the one you call home. If you dare to dream and want to explore the brand amplification of Cloudcast, a national leader in local podcasting and other Winfluence strategies, please visit us at cloudcast.us.
I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media, listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg's Spotlight on the Community Show, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union. Just a great day when we have in the studio Friends of United Way of San Diego County and 211 San Diego, Rachael Orose, President and CEO of United Way, and Meg Storer, Chief of Staff for 211 San Diego. I'll start with you on this, Rachel, and you sort of addressed it a little bit too, Meg. As the feds at this point tend to reduce some services and all this, and as Meg was pointing out, but my need is here, and when you cut it, it's sort of exponential. It's not just, oh, you just did this little thing, well, then it just snowballs. Talk about that.
We need a couple things. So when you think about changes in policies, and we think about changes in benefits, our families need a couple resources so that they can have the tools to navigate this themselves. So from a longevity standpoint, they need the literacy skills, the financial literacy skills, the tools built into their everyday life so that it's a little bit easier for them to navigate giant changes like this. Meg referenced that these shifts are hard to understand. And I think that's a really important piece. When you think about San Diego, about half of our kids are struggling with basic literacy skills. And my concern here is that we really need to build those skill sets because things are getting more complicated and our kids are going to be asked to navigate more complex financial situations as they grow up. We're in the most expensive county, or one of the most expensive counties in the region or in the country. And we're like, how do we help our kids have those tools to do that long term, and then short term, what responses can we provide? One thing that I love about the county and San Diego is just the number of people who are stepping up to help. We have thousands of nonprofits. Everybody's in this together. We're really trying to figure out how can we center our resources where they are most needed today, and recognizing that looks different than it did yesterday. And what 211 has done in a lot of spaces is figured out how to better funnel that real-time data. Meg, you were doing some work with the food bank, right? To do that?
Yeah. I mean, I think, Rachel, you're right. I think that just to add on real quickly is that when we talk about the financial literacy, if I can just, add a piece here, is that an upstream approach to preparedness and education leads to empowerment. And if we can, between all of our community-based organizations, lend to knowledge, we all know knowledge is power, quote unquote, is that education really is empowerment. If we can, as organizations like a United Way and 211, help educate while also navigating individuals to the best resources, we are empowering those individuals to take, to not surrender their human rights to certain things like food and medical and money that needs to be put back on their table.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, sometimes policy changes, we'd like that policy changes contribute to prosperity, but sometimes they exacerbate poverty. What's happening at the federal level, policy-wise, that's impacting families here in San Diego? For whether it's access, eligibility, funding, what's happening that San Diegans need to know about?
Well, I think we have to be very prescriptive in what's happening. Is that there are HR 1 policy changes that are impacting individuals' CalFresh, which is SNAP, food assistance. And there are more stringent requirements being put on access for families and individuals to receive those benefits right now. This started in April and in June, and we knew they were coming over a year ago. We are also going to see impacts to our Medi-Cal benefits and requirements that are going to be very stringent for individuals to receive those benefits. And we're talking seniors, you guys. And we're talking about families and parents and children. So what that does is, without the convening and the knowledge of the influencers and stakeholders in our community, we're not going to be able to create a safety net. Right now, our county of San Diego, our philanthropists, our CBOs, even our corporations, all the corners are coming together to make sure that we are getting people before they fall off, but at the same time, we're catching the people that may not have known. And that's really critical to keeping the infrastructure of our community strong, financially, economically, and thriving. So when we talk about a 211 San Diego and a United Way, and essentially we're conveners of bringing these stakeholders together to say, hey, we have a responsibility as a nonprofit to make sure that there is an infrastructure that's being created, that folks that may not know about it are being educated and empowered to join it. So
well, and I think one of the things that we've hung our hat on, at least with our Spotlight show, as Rachel knows, she's been a frequent guest, is you can't say it just once. You got to say it once, twice, 4,000 times, and continue to keep this on the mindset of the folks, especially those people that the corporations and the nonprofits and the government agencies that can actually do something. And heaven forbid, 1 + 1 actually does equal 8. In this area. We are chatting with our good friends from United Way of San Diego County, Rachael Orose, President and CEO, and 211 San Diego, and Meg Storer, Chief of Staff for the organization. We love having you folks on because you're getting to the heart of what the real thing is that I need help now. Okay, I don't need help tomorrow. I don't need help in 2 weeks. I need help today. Okay, in this aspect of it. I'll start with you on this, Meg, and we'll pivot over to Rachel, because our good friend Tad Parzan is a frequent guest on the show talking about 1SD. So, Meg, how do you guys tie into that?
Sure. So we are a member of 1SD, and I think Tad's vision and, you know what? The thing about Tad is that he comes with such humility, right?
He's very funny.
Yes. This is about a region approach, and he is so dedicated and so committed and so compassionate about creating this environment that's so important to all of us. Everybody at that One San Diego table, we all come from different backgrounds in different sectors. And creating awareness and education, what I mentioned earlier about being empowered, Tad does a great job of allowing to set the stage and giving all of us the steps up to the stage to have dialogue that's really important in our community.
Yeah, and I know, Rachel, you know all about it, to say the least, in this aspect of it. We just had on last week 3 local service groups of iconic guys that hung their hat on other things. We had Michael Brunker on, and we had Jose Cruz, who you know very, very well, and Gordon Berner from Union Bank, and they all talked about getting the service groups together on October 24 for 1SD in that aspect of it. With our few minutes to go here, Rachel, what can our listeners do to support United Way San Diego County?
I think it's what's really important is that we support each other right now. Things are changing really fast. The policies are changing really fast. The needs of our families are changing really fast. I think the number one most important thing we can do is when we hear our neighbors, we hear our clients, we hear our partners, we hear our employees struggling, letting them know that there are resources and tools available today that they may have never been able to access before or never needed to access before. I think that's the number one thing we need to do. I think the number one sub A thing we need to do is we need to remember that we have to invest in this connective tissue that 211 and United Way bring to the table. We can't navigate really complex problems by ourselves. And what United Way does and what 211 does is we're bringing our partners to the table. We're bringing the information to the table so we can get it out into our communities in a meaningful way. It's not always the thing that you think about investing in. It's not direct service in a way that makes the most sense to a lot of donors. It is, however, critical, especially right now, because if we are not organized, we're going to have a really hard time helping our families navigate one of the most complex changes we've seen in the last decade, at least.
Well, and I think it gets back to something that we always talk about. I've been doing this for 20 years on this show, is that if you don't think you can contribute because you don't have Bill Gates' money or you don't have time, you're wrong. $5 goes a long, long way when you multiply it by the masses, as does 1 hour of volunteering and that aspect of it. Talk about that, Meg, how that can support, what you folks do.
Sure. I mean, at the end of the day, 211 San Diego is a private 501c3. We're a nonprofit. We're a pillar in the community, and yes, we have amazing partnerships with philanthropy and our government partners, but we're a nonprofit, and nonprofits rely on the benefit and the charity and the support of those out in the community. So volunteering and providing financial support in any way. My mom donates $5 every month. $5. She's 80 and in Maryland. So God bless her, right?
Right.
So, but that goes somewhere. And it
multiply that
helps
by
us.
$1 million and it makes a difference.
Yeah. And so I think that's really important that we can't forget that. We can't forget that as a community, that volunteering really, we gotta keep an emphasis on that. We have wonderful volunteer organizations in our region, and we have great philanthropists, but it's the everyday people that do the good work.
Well, and I want to bring up something that Rachel, I talk about quite a bit, and I know you're laser-beyond, as is my business partner, the CEO, founder of Cloudcast Media. It's all about data. And if you don't think that makes a difference, that $5 your mom does a month, or the 1 hour that someone dedicates in time that maybe is 2 hours next month, and so forth, there are numbers behind it to say this is what your money did.
Absolutely.
Whether it's working with to help out between SNAP and all that business. Shout out the website if people want to get engaged with 211.
Sure. It's 211sandiego.org. And real quick, I would be remiss if I didn't say that if you have someone who's struggling, it doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter how big or small. And people can call 211 San Diego, and we'll be there. We'll be there for them 24/7.
And you always have. Rachel, how about how people engage with you?
You can visit our website, uwsd.org. We're especially looking for partners who are in the trenches with our neighbors and are really supporting our neighbors to come together so that we can help organize and rally resources and share data and help move our community forward.
Charles, any final comments?
I'm just very impressed. It's great to learn more about 211. 1.5 million service calls, 200 languages, 300 people serving the community. Pretty impressive.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, and they've been doing this for a very long time. Let's make sure we continue this trajectory and have you folks on at minimum once a quarter. If not enough, we've got to keep this trajectory going and, working with our good friend Tad and 1SD and all the other great groups that are doing this. So really appreciate Meg, you and Rachel coming in. I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media. You've been listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, nation's longest running community podcast, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union. To our audience, we hope you enjoyed the interview.
You've been listening to an episode of Drew Schlosberg's Spotlight on the Community Show, amplifying the voices of social impact organizations, entrepreneurs, local nonprofits, and other community champions who shape the culture, creativity, and connectivity of San Diego community. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing good things to San Diego for over 60 years. Learn more about what is good for you and good for all by visiting www.missionfed.com.